out stretching. Gotta get that blood pumping. It's it's the final matches before the final matches, right?
You gotta stretch those hammies. You gotta stretch those tries.
Is there more to that song, or is it just like the one little thing?
It's a work in progress. You're gonna have to get back to my agent.
Oh, cool. I'll get back to you next year when we do the next set of videos.
I love being in 2023.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Double Dip Draft. It has been a second or two since we've talked about these latest matches. And by these latest, I mean it is the latest matches, of course. Absolutely.
Latest is a word you could use to describe this.
Absolutely, but I'm going to describe myself first as Cabral, coach of the Hash-Slinging Aegis Slashers. Joining me today,
Spood, coach of the Southtown Sand Slashers. Hey, congrats to us for not making playoff.
Absolutely. What a joyous time. But you know what? That's a little less stress for us because we get to sit down and watch some really engaging matches. We're in quarterfinals now. You and Aurora. Yes, that is right. I don't know why I blanked on that.
Good job.
I know what it is. I saw Whittle Doge over there. But you went over qualifiers. How did that go? We got to see Milo, by the way, for the first time going into playoffs.
Yes, Milo was one to keep your eye on. He did rob bananas at gunpoint behind a liquor store. Very unpleasant. But, it's very funny if you're Milo. Like, that it kind of is, it's Galarian Slowking, Galarian Slow Bro. That's what he does, He's a thug, man. He's a bad guy.
No, absolutely.
You saw some heavy hitters go, including, Kemeth out in round one. I think... Shoot, actually, can you show me the bracket?
That's what I was just opening up. So
thank you.
This is what we started with.
Whiteloaf out in round one.
With this one, there we go.
Yeah. So some heavy hitters out in round one. Really interesting, actually. One of the notable ones was Martian Mantines versus Miami Milotics. That was Black Captain versus Snake. Both of them very fresh-faced in the playoffs bracket. Ended up going against each other. That was really interesting to watch. Mm-hmm. And now we've got basically, and I'm gonna be so nice. I'm gonna be so nice. Are you ready?
Yeah.
We've got heavy hitters plus Milo and Black Captain in this topic.
Hey, you know what? If I was in there, you would have said the same thing. So,
I'm just calling it how I see it. Sorry if you don't like me telling the truth.
We have some really cool matches. I'm excited to see Claire versus Scoots. That is sort of a rivalry to an extent, to a degree, I would say. We've got Aurora coming up against Black Captain, of course. We have Vincent and IDM. That's a big match. And then we have Milo, who, from what I understand of your recent recording with Aurora, had some pretty good luck on his side in his first match in playoffs.
Yeah, Milo stole it. Milo knows he stole it. Everybody knows Milo stole it. But, again, that is the nature of the game we play. You reap and you sow.
Yeah.
The thing about, the good and bad luck, we were just talking about this earlier, I got kind of bailed out in the end game against Nick with my 3-turn Spore, but that was after a straight season of awful luck.
Yeah.
And conversely, one of the people that I got hacks against was Bananas in, I think it was literally week one. Mm-hmm. And so, it's not like Bananas is exclusively reaping the bad luck, but... there's one thing when it happens to you in division, and then it's another thing when it happens to you in playoffs qualifiers.
Yeah.
That's hard.
No, absolutely. Because, even during, regular season, when I was frozen for 10 turns, which I think is a record still, was insane and ridiculous against Woody. But more recently, the match that would have determined me going into playoffs over Milo was me versus IDM. IDM had gotten a burn off on me, and had that burn not happened, I would have likely just made playoffs with the Pokemon I had left in that match. But that's just the name of the game. There are things outside of your control, because you can only do so much prep work in Pokemon drafting and matchmaking, because at the end of the day, there's still RNG. There's still sweat on your fingertips that makes you slip and misclick or whatever it is,
Yeah. So there's there's a concept I'm going to pretend to understand real quick in like statistics called regression to the mean, which is the idea that if there's a percentage chance of something happening, that over an infinitely long amount of instances of that thing happening, it will average out to be whatever rate it's supposed to be. So like if Scald burns 30% of the time and you do 1,000 straight Scalds, it's going to be really close to 30%, pretty much no matter how often you run that, because it's always going to regress to the mean. So maybe you'll start off by getting 5 Scald burns in a row, which is very unlikely, but it'll buff out over a long enough period of time. And I think that applies to Pokemon RNG. Like, you'll lose some playoffs on RNG, but you'll also make some playoffs on RNG. Like, as long as you play over a long enough period of time, your record will buff itself out, I think. Anything that's like luck related, the pendulum swings both ways.
Yeah.
So all of that is to say, Bananas is going to come back. Hopefully he plays next season. And he's going to kill everybody.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
That would be incredible to do. But first, we have a match to look at. We have Aurora of the Hoensbroek Haunters versus Ray High, also known as Black Captain of the Martian Mantines.
Woohoo!
Yeah!
The Dutch are in full force here. Almost half of our top 8 are the Dutch.
I am scared.
And in fact, half of our top 8 are European, actually, including IBM. That's funny.
I am scared of the Dutch takeover that is inevitable to come to the Double Dip draft. The Americans will slowly be whittled out in favor of the East India Company.
True.
What we're going to go ahead and do is start this match and start talking about it, because we have some really cool stuff. I love the Fortress start. It makes sense. And there is a Colossal in the way.
Yeah, and the Terra Dragon is weird. I don't really know why she would do that turn 1.
Yeah, that crit sucks, because Sylveon is very bulky based off of that crit and what it looks like. And that thing, it doesn't sit on everything on Aurora's team, but it's really nice to have that bulk.
Yeah. Monotyping is generally good for like defensive play. Mono Fairy is a pretty good defensive typing. Obviously, Sylveon known for being pretty bulky in that leftover set. I mean, speaks for itself.
Yeah. Unaware, nice, classic. That makes sense.
So you've seen like the reads going in Aurora's favor this whole beginning of the game, but we're about to see it flip actually.
Yeah. Nice Ice Beam.
Because very good Ice Beam calling out the Hydrapple switch in.
Yep.
And then very good Sludge Wave calling out the Valiant switch.
Wave.
So back to back, Quagsire looking great, and now he's gone because he didn't have a Rindo Berry.
Yeah. It was running left.
Fortress hasn't put up any hazards yet, interestingly.
Yeah, which is kind of a shame. There's the Flamethrower. I think that was being expected like on turn 1. Did not knock that out. That's kind of a shame. Don't know if that's a roll or not. Another crit on Aurora.
Yeah. Aurora does get a lot of crits this game, actually.
Nice.
And here you see Pincurchin being amazing, taking 49% from Fortress Earthquake, which nothing should be taking that much damage from it, frankly.
Yeah.
And this thing very low. It very well may have been Boots. I don't think we ever get affirmative confirmation.
Yeah, we don't. But this crit right here was so necessary and would not have knocked out Aurora any other way.
Yeah, 100%. It needed to be a crit and a high roll, actually. And it was both.
Yep. Again, if this Sylveon, so far we've only seen it use Hyper Voice, actually, but it looks like it does have leftovers, but there's no Wish or Protect, because like right now, a Protect would be nice, and then a Wish, and then another Protect. Could have been nice to get that thing back to full, but it does just...
And like Wish passing to Fortress would have been great, or even Iron Crown.
Oh, absolutely.
Would have benefited from that.
Doctor's Nemesis. Why is there an E in Doctors?
It's fine. Look, ESL. That Metal Burst was a big blunder from Black Captain, unfortunately. You would maybe reasonably expect that, because it sort of works like counter in Mirror, or what is it, Mirror Coat? Yeah, Mirror Coat. That it would go last, but it's not negative priority. Yeah. So just randomly, if it goes first, it just fails because he didn't take any damage.
Yeah, I do think, though, looking back at this match, that Sylveon with some sort of Wish Pass or a little more, like, at least Protect, just to get some HP back for itself, would have been really good in this match setup, because looking at it, I don't see a lot of Pokemon that really hit Sylveon that hard. Yes, Iron Valiant does. But like other than that, Go-Go can hit it hard. But again, if you're wishing protecting or wish passing, then you have other answers to Iron Valley and to Go-Go here that I see.
Yeah. Depending on how it was spec'd out, I mean, it could stand up to a lot of her team, especially after Colossal had teared into Dragon and gave itself a fairy weakness.
Oh, yeah.
And the Iron Treads was chipped all the way down to like 2 or 9% or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that. I mean, Sylveon could have looked really good into that mid to late game. And I really think Black Captain should have prioritized getting up earlier hazards. Because again, it's entirely possible she had boots just on everything. I don't think we really get reveals per se on a lot of these items.
I mean, looking back at the HP for the rest of the Pokemon Aurora had, we had like 16% Iron Valley, we had like 34% on like Colossal, and Hydrapple like 13, with Go-Go being like full health. But if you had rocks or spikes, just could have chipped those away. That 2% left on Iron Treads could have just knocked it out with, like, you know, having hazards up.
Yeah, and I mean, again, you know, talking about like into the late game, that crit into Incineroar, you know, Incineroar's taken completely out of the game. Maybe that could have pivoted around more with like a good parting shot. Maybe you could have gotten in Sylveon to heal a little more reliably. Maybe you could have forced more switches and then hit them with very strong Pixelate Hyper Voices. Like, you know, Black Captain did get a little unlucky, but I think he had the tools and the positioning to win. He just didn't quite put the pieces together in time.
Yeah. And that's, you know, that's, like we said earlier, that's just how the cookie crumbles in Double Dip Draft League. That's just how it is sometimes. And Aurora takes away a 4-0 against Black Captain, bumping her up into the next part of the tournament, which, you know what, we'll get back to those. We'll get back to those.
Oh, yeah, well, we have a lot to talk about. You know, we'll give kudos to Black Captain because, again, you know, making it to top 8 is no small feat, especially in a league with 24 players, and a lot of them are very seasoned, very strong competitors. And, you know, going the distance, you know, keeping it, like, relatively competitive versus Aurora, like, you know, kudos to you, Black Captain. But this next match does not have any ambiguity as to the skill level of the players. Nobody is trying to prove, you know, this is not Baby's first playoffs anymore. This is Vincent of the Heerlen Hawluchas versus IDM of the Brussels Espeons. Going into this, obviously, IDM speaks for himself. That is our best player in the league, #1 rated since basically the very beginning. Just in terms of legacy, IDM, the greatest of all time in Double Dip. I don't even think you can really contest that. Yeah. Vincent, on the other hand, coming into this undefeated out of division, and then into, obviously, he got a bye into this round of playoffs.
Yeah.
So, you know, he is looking very strong, and he's had a lot of good seasons before this, but right now, I mean, he's got a nasty draft, a very nice record.
Very defensive. Alomomola, as we had talked about before recording, is incredibly bulky. Regenerator itself is not an overlooked ability, but I think one not thought of sometimes, right? When you think about it, like, oh, you get some HP back. When you have a Pokemon like a Alomomola having, what is it, 145 HP? 140?
It's too much. I couldn't tell you the base HP off the top of my head, but it's way too much.
As well. And when you wish with something with high HP like that, and then slow flip turn out to get HP to whatever Pokemon you have coming in to not take damage, it's insane, because you can end up in scenarios in your end game with a Pokemon with Regenerator where you just take out that one, bring it back in, you sack something, you come back in with over half HP sometimes. If you have a little bit less than half HP or whatever it is. That's huge. That's like a full attack that doesn't knock you out again to come in and chip away your opponent.
I mean, Alomomola, through pretty passive and standard non-risky play, is going to add like at least 100 to 150% overall health to your team, just between its Regenerator, flip turning, and wish passing. Like, that thing makes everything just take so much longer, and it was somewhat undervalued in this draft. I think we were sleeping on it a little bit, but Vincent wisely picked it up, and it complements very well his Sheer Force Landorus, and especially Ogerpon Cornerstone, which obviously Ogerpon Cornerstone being one of those Pokemon that is compelled to hold an item. You can't be Cornerstone Ogerpon unless you're holding the Cornerstone Mask, which means you can't be holding a Sash or a choice item or leftovers or something. Ogerpon Cornerstone gets Sturdy, which means like normally it can't massively utilize Sturdy because it doesn't have any way to like super reliably heal itself, and it doesn't have any items that it can use to really abuse Sturdy. But you can Wish Pass into it with Alamomola, and even if there are hazards up, you come in, take Rock Chip, and then Alamomola's 5 quadrillion HP brings you all the way back up to full, and then you have Sturdy again.
It's crazy to see all that, and again, Swoopman been playing really well in general this season. Some matches here and there have a little luck, but what match doesn't? IDM though, again, as we've said, is number 1, and the draft we see here is really, I think, reflective on that. Annihilate is really good. Shift Tree has put in some work as well for IDM this season. Same with Pre-Marina. Pre-Marina very much has had a spotlight in a couple of the matches this season, if I remember correctly.
Oh yeah, Primarina wasn't as relatively low valued as like Alamomola, but he made it really, he got a lot of value out of it. The way he played Primarina, you would have thought it was like an A tier. I mean, that thing was matching up super well into most of the S and A tiers in the game, and being able to Terra, just opened up so much stuff for it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. But as we can keep going on all day about these two and how the matches went and this and that for the season, but we have this match right here itself to watch, and we can see how this goes.
That's right. Let's go! Yeah, Lando I notably won that when we originally made it legal. I drafted it, and it didn't have Sheer Force allowed, and it was pretty bad as an S tier without Sheer Force. So we gave it Sheer Force, and then it was really, really good as an S tier. So.
Just playing safe, flip turning, getting out and intimidate, which is really necessary. Ivy Cudgel is a scary move in general. Spiky Shield is also just, I'm pretty sure Vincent has run this set every single week with this thing.
Ogerpon is like a pretty narrow moveset, generally, to be honest. You're going to be running like Ivy Cudgel, Horn Leech, maybe Leech Seed or some other kind of coverage, but there's not a lot going on there.
Yeah. Earthquake being really nice, taking out River Bloom, and already IDM is a little bit on a back foot here. Energy Ball.
Yeah, it's tough. Redraft also pretty low valued, I think. Very good value pick.
Energy Ball a little odd there. Not sure if misclick or expecting. I expected a switch out or something, maybe.
I mean, if it's the thing is, it didn't Terra, so it's immune to Psychic, and it resists Earthquake, so it probably was the highest damaging move that it had.
That could be the case.
And it is a decent mid-ground, because there's not a lot of grass resist on this team right now.
Yeah.
And Vincent, one of the things that he started doing this season, like halfway through, that was just amazingly strong, was he just started hitting Protect all the time.
Yep.
Even when it didn't really move the game forward, he just did a lot of protecting, and he just, I don't know, for some reason, like myself included, it just melted people's brains. Like, he was getting a lot of scouting information, and wasn't really losing a whole lot of positioning for hitting, Spiky Shield on Ogerpon, Protect on Alamomola.
Yeah. But we've seen quite a bit back and forth. We did see some, shenanigans with, I think, 2 Pokemon with Rocky Helmet here. Glare finally coming off and, at least paralyzing a Alomomola. I can't say it today. Alomomola.
You can't say very easy to pronounce name Alomomola?
I cannot say Alomomola that easily. Regardless, Rocky Helmet is insane to throw on that, as well as for Rigref.
Yeah, this team is basically just very bulky with like 1 or 2 really strong breakers. And IDM, Alamomola is just such a problem.
Yeah.
IDM has to really position these like special attackers in front of Alamomola, and with the slow flip turn, it's just really tough to get an advantageous switch in, because, even if Alamomola comes in and doesn't move the needle at all, if it comes in and leaves, it gets 33% of his health back.
Yeah. Which is insane, because again, you see IDM switching and switching and switching and switching, and now that rocks are here, that chip is just going to keep coming back, whereas Spoopman doesn't care about rocks, because again, Lolamola, it just comes in and still gets 33% HP. Sure, it takes a chip, but that doesn't matter to it. It doesn't care about that.
Yeah. Even there's like a segment that happens later in this match, as a spoiler, where it gets like back-to-back full parried, and absolutely nothing about the game state changes.
Yeah.
Like, even IDM can't make use of 2 full free turns against Alamomola.
Yeah. Wait, 18% there with an Earthquake with Sandaconda? That's so crazy.
Yep. Just every time that flip turn.
Yep.
All the damage that was just done.
Comes in, takes a little bit of shit from rock, sucker punches, kills this thing. And at this point, IDM really is on that back foot. There's not much he can do because, look, 100% comes in, loses only 12. Bulks up. Yes, you can do that, but it's like, Drain Punch is only doing 23 with a bulk up.
Yeah, and then you get that Rocky Helmet. And you think, like, okay, hey, it's flip turning, so it's feeding into the Rage Fist. But Vincent has also, I think he's already shown at this point, that he's got Encore.
Yeah.
Which, because it outspeeds Annihilate, if Annihilate starts bulking up, it's just going to be stuck bulking up. Or if it's, going to get stuck, like, Drain Punching into something like Alamomola, which doesn't care.
Yep, and there it goes. Flip turns again. It's going to come back with 66% of its HP, which is insane. Stellar Terra, really fun, by the way.
Yeah, he pretty much had to gamble on like a crit there, and even then, I don't think, like at this point, IDM had lost too many pieces.
Yeah. And Vincent just maintains that. Like, look at 5 Pokemon left. 5-1 against IDM is really crazy.
Yeah, 5-0 against IDM from Vincent. Again, just such a strong draft. He's got like a very good awareness of how to play it. All the pieces in the right place, and just, again, Alamomola is so suffocating. It's just too much.
Yeah.
It's just too much. Yeah, not much else to say about that.
No,
stall.
not really.
It's not even really stall. It's more like semi-stall or balance, but like it's just so strong. Slow and steady.
I mean, that's just been Vincent's MO this entire season in general. And again, like the only real thing you can do against a Alomomola is doing like Toxic, but even then, you can't keep it in there long enough. Because anything, like if you did a re-entrap stuff or even like shadow tag things, like you can't really do much to it. Those Pokemon that generally have those abilities don't dish out a ton of damage to something that bulky.
Yeah.
Other than like Dugtrio, but that just dies to a flip turn. So it's like, what do you do?
Alamomola's weakness is that it's like specially weak, which is why IDM brought like special biased mixed Salamence.
Yeah.
But again, just the positioning, it never lined up because every time he moved in Salamence to attack it, it was just flip turning out because it had already come in. So again, not at all, not like an easy game for Vincent or anything, but just all the right pieces in all the right places, and there was very little IDM could do once the ball got rolling.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a couple more matches left. Our next match is Milo Mega versus the Cracked Kricketunes. Totally Not Pimp.
Who's Milo's team's name?
I don't know. Do you know?
It's the Canadian Cottonees!
Whoa, I never saw that coming. That's crazy. Milo coming in with some really interesting Pokemon. I love Slacking. I played it in the off-season. I thought it was really fun, really goofy. And you know what? If you play it right, you can absolutely knock out a lot of Pokemon. Obviously, you click Protect, it can't do anything to you, really. But if you're not prepared for it or like expect it to come, because you look like, why would anyone bring Slacking? That's really dumb. It will knock out your Pokemon. It does not care.
Slacking to me in draft is kind of like a worse Ditto. Like it forces some team building adjustments so that you have to maybe proliferate Protect around a little more, or like it becomes a little more difficult to switch into something like that. But its actual application in the game is so narrow, and beyond just maybe dropping like a nuke every once in a while, or finding some kind of way to pass Truant off to another Pokemon, there's just not really a whole lot to do with it.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely the case. But we do see Kyurem, Araquanid, not Iron Thorns, the other one.
Cobalion.
Yeah, Cobalion, thank you.
It would be Iron Crown if it were the robot one.
Yes, it's true. Alolan Raichu and Galarian Slowbro are also here with Totally Not Pimp bringing Walking Wake, which is insane. Slitherwing, which is insane. Sandy Shocked, which is insane. Silly Porygon 2 over there. Tinkaton, which is an odd choice to me. I don't know. I look at the team makeups here and I wonder why it's here.
I think it's like beasts on Kyurem at least, and does pretty decent non-Terra-Fire.
Oh, you know what?
Galarian.
You're right with Kyurem. Yeah, that absolutely makes sense now. And Uxie, of course, which I think some people overlook Uxie.
I know I do.
Yeah, completely fair. But I mean, we can only do so much by just sitting here talking. I think we just gotta...
That's true. Let's see if Not Pimp can avenge his friend Bananas.
Oh.
Araquanid lead. Milo has done this, I think, literally all of the games he's played this entire season.
I mean, it's a good lead. Sticky webs out the gate, and then you click liquidation. Like,
yep.
What else do you do? In fact, we see Terra Water because there's the liquidation, because Notpip was expecting that.
That's true. Very brave to not Terra Water this turn 1, actually, in front of this, because it could have done like a lunge or like a Leech Life or something.
That Giga Impact is insane.
And then, never mind.
Yep.
It's like it's good, and then that's why it's bad.
One thing we talked about before the match kicks off, and again, there goes lacking, is getting off any bit of chip on this thing. Like here this comes in with a Nuzzle, right? Does a nice little chunk of damage, and Nuzzle will paralyze and potential chance for flinch. So then that's where you have advantage of slacking coming in to hit this thing when it's under that 90% threshold.
Yeah, if the order of operations were different from Milo, same Pokemon, same order, but it's like Raichu nuzzles and then chips it, and then you get in slacking after.
Yeah.
Slacking just kills it with that Giga Impact, or at least forces a switch.
Yeah.
But because he did it backwards, because he did his big slacking hit before, it didn't kill, and then he was punished by having his HP stolen and then his slacking killed.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much importance to chip in this in general. Sorry, I was gonna say in this game, but no, in matches in general, right? Knocking off little bits of opponent's health and doing it early, as you had mentioned in our previous conversation, is really important, because that lets you bring in those hard, heavy hitters like slacking to clean up stuff. If you're chipping away at the beginning of your match and you set up rocks or spikes, or you're doing volt switches or other little things, like even Nuzzle, that 8% can make a difference in a match.
Yeah. And that's why you got to know your calcs, run your scrims, figure out, like I can see why maybe you didn't prep for Uxie, because I mean, look at it, but I mean, this thing, Terra Water and then a bunch of stored power. Look at that, by the way, getting the defense drop and that earlier special defense drop made it live the stored power because of the reduced damage. Yeah. Then he gets the crit liquidation. and then he gets another para and defense drop. Like, what is happening?
That's crazy. I mean, at this point, it's a little bit of a moot point. Notpip doesn't get the 6-0, but at this point, Milo really cannot do anything about this.
Yeah. Also very weird to see the Gen 9 Pokemon with models on Showdown now. Last time I looked at them, they were all still pictures, basically.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. But yeah,
you can turn in her big hammer obscure things at Team View.
It is very funny. But at that point, that's all she wrote. Milo's, I think, weakness in this was actually his start, and doing the same lead as he has been doing in a lot of the games lets you be vulnerable to people knowing what you're likely to do. And I'm not blaming him, because Araquanid is a very strong start. Sticky Webs is a
Sticky Wobs.
Sticky Wobs is a really good go-to for opener. You have a team with Slithering, Sandy Shocks, and Walking Wake, who are really fast Pokemon. So of course you want webs out to deal with them, so you start Araquanid to make sure you get that early in the game to give you the best advantage. But then that has allowed Notpimp to take advantage of that and just set up Uxie and sit there.
Yeah.
And Milo didn't have an answer to that.
The thing about it is, like, yeah, Araquanid's a great lead. So then, especially if you make a habit out of bringing it turn 1, people are going to counter lead your lead. And that doesn't make it a bad lead, but it does make it predictable. Mm-hmm. And Notpimp counted on Milo to play his Araquanid the way he had been playing it, and Milo did, and then Notpimp swept his whole team with a Uxie. And, could have been avoided, even just by hitting, like, a strong bug move into Uxie turn 1 instead of, like, again, just stubbornly sticking to your Sticky Web. You gotta assume that a guy who's gotten the bye into top 8 is probably going to have, like, the awareness to not let his team fold to a turn 1 Sticky Web. So
yeah. And that's where we see, we've talked about this before in previous matches, earlier in the season stuff, when you have newer players come in and veteran players play those newer players, sometimes they don't do as well because they don't know how these players play. And there are things that are expected, like, oh, they're going to do this, but if they're inexperienced or they just don't know their play style, they might not do something expected, right? And that makes a really big difference in these games as well.
Yeah. There's a lot of little things, you have to kind of treat it like chess almost, you got to be thinking several turns ahead. You got to think about the sort of butterfly effect of, like, what if I do or don't do something on this turn? How is that going to come back to haunt me? And that applies to chip. That applies to like, setup and sweeping and just some people just really get it. Like Claire, again, somebody who does spam a lot of setup and setup sweep, but does really well. Like you can do it. And that doesn't mean that it's just like the auto win button, because I think you could also give Vincent's draft to a lot of other people, and they wouldn't be able to use Alamomola as effectively. So, like, I think that's just the difference between a good player and a great player is, situational awareness, thinking steps ahead. Yeah. And I think Milo, got a good insight as to why switching up the play and predicting predictions and getting early chip and thinking about the order of operations, like, those little adjustments could have saved this game, or at least made it a playable game instead of a 20-turn sweep.
Yeah, no, for sure. But with that said, we are on to our final match.
And I'll tell you what that final match is. It is Scoops of the Dumblespood's Army versus, who were we just talking about? Actually, it was Claire of the Maryland Manectrics. Whoops, I did this in the wrong order. Spoiler alert, she likes setup sweeping. Something we already knew if you've watched previous setups. Oh my god, if you've watched previous replays.
Start over the whole thing.
Now I'm getting Freudian.
No more.
That's it. Oh my god, the stocky whoops.
Both of these are great players. Scoots is a stunning player going 7-0 at I think it's a 32 differential, which is the highest recorded differential we've had in a regular season, which is insane. So undefeated. Claire coming in at
Well, I don't think he was undefeated going into this. I think he definitely undefeated. You're right.
Yeah. No, I just edited the videos on that, so I.
Oh, true.
Yeah. True.
Now, why do I doubt you? I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's okay. But Claire coming in with a very strong team. Wo-Chien was, I think, really overlooked. Like, when we brought that in for the season for the first time, everyone was like, oh, Wo-Chien, Grass Dark sucks. And it does. Bad typing. Awful. The tablet it has is not as... Or is it Vessel Rune?
No, Vessel's Tinglu. It's tablets.
It is tablet. Okay, no, I was right. I questioned myself. Well, look at me doubting myself. Sorry, I doubted me. People saw that as not as good and everything. But this thing with Terra has been profound. It is really, really bulky. It takes hits all day. Leech Seed with Protect has been so stunning for Claire, and people haven't really known what to do against it.
It's a very difficult thing to tier according to like our rule set, because obviously with a tier cutoff, Wo-Chien without Terra, very bad. Wo-Chien with Terra, very good. If you rank it high enough to be ineligible to Terra, it's going to not be worth the price. If you rank it low enough to be able to Terra, it's going to be a bargain, like a steal. So there's really no perfect way to Terra Wo-Chien unless you carve out an exception for it, and I think it's probably the biggest example of a Pokemon whose viability just swings so hard with access to Terra versus not having it. And she really made quite a lot of use out of the Terra Wo-Chien, and spoiler alert, she will be doing more of that in this match. Just in general, Scoots and Claire, both so good. Like you said, Scoots undefeated. Claire having some pretty strong matchups into other strong players as well. So this is a true could go either way, maybe slightly Scoots' favored match, and there's not much else to say. Let's just jump into it.
Yeah, and both of these teams are looking really solid as well. Scoots with, Tinglu is fantastic. Leafeon's really good. Feraligatr gets Sheer Force now and Dragon Dance, which is really dumb. Yanmega with Bug Buzz, Throat Spray, and Speed Boost, whatever it gets. Little silly thing. This thing's terrifying.
Yeah. And it's also very good with Tinted Lens, I should say. Like a Specs Tinted Lens set is also pretty scary, but you'll see why this one was the preferred choice.
That's so crazy.
Pretty big fumble from Claire, to be honest. We have Terra preview. She should have known that was going to Terra Ground there.
Yeah. That's doing so much damage to this stuff. And it's at this point, what does Claire really do with this? So she had to sack there to kind of reassess and readjust stuff. Wo-Chien comes out here. Terra Fairies immediately. And, look, 23% is insane.
That's, because that Bug Buzz would have blitzed it, obliterated, destroyed it, because it's quad weak to Bug, right? No leech seed here, notably, which is I think kind of a misplay. I don't, I don't think that Scoots would have felt pressured out. So I don't think the knock was really all that good, especially since it already didn't have its throat spray anymore.
Yeah, that flinch might have been a leech seed there, but we cannot confirm that. We don't know what was going through Claire's mind at that time other than swear words.
True. In the chat.
We do have the green man come out. We see Sash, and that means it's likely Spore. There it is.
Yeah, she should have done this much sooner. I think she was probably trying to save it for a different scenario, but...
Yeah, but sometimes you just have to give it on that. Scale Shot coming in to deal with Florida Man, because if you don't deal with Florida Man now, he will come and probably kill your family.
Yeah, true. And the bath salts took over. That is a... Gouging Fire is gone. Kind of cathartic to watch that after seeing what happened in round 1 against Nick, where the Gouging Fire refused to ever die.
Yeah, Ting Lu coming back out, though. This thing's really silly, but this is a very different set for Mew, and a very solid set, if I may say so.
Oh, yeah.
Body Press with Iron Defense is a unexpected set from Mew, but because of that, I think it can really lend itself into just being really good. It is prepped for Ting Lu, basically, at that point, because Ting Lu has attack, if I remember correctly, right?
Ting Lu lowers... Damn it, I don't know. I think Ting Lu lowers special attack, but I actually don't know.
Yeah.
If I were a better host, I would go look that up.
That's fair. If I were a better host, I would do the same thing.
And yeah, here we are watching this thing Iron Defense up. Here's the thing that's nice about Iron Defense Body Press is that it's super effective against Dark types, which obviously are immune to Psychic. So
yep.
Very nice sort of cover your own bases there. And even though Claire is pretty low and only down to 2 Pokemon, like, she still actually has some decent footholds right now.
It is kind of crazy. Despite Scoots being at 6 and Claire being at 2, this is not a close... It is a close game, but not for Scoots necessarily. This is a very scary setup right now that Scoots has to deal with.
Yep. Very smart from Scoots. That was a pivotal turn, going for the second Sword Stance, expecting the Protect after the Leaf
Seed.
Still not
killing a 3 times attack is insane.
Yeah, this thing hits so hard too. I mean, it's got to be physical defense for Wo-Chen, right?
Yeah, got it.
Because just look at that.
That's so crazy. Double Protect didn't stick. Really,
and that was she needed it. She needed it. Yeah, that was like the only way. She was playing to her outs, which you got to respect. But at that point, yeah, Scoots takes away the 6-0. Although he does say in chat, closest 6-0 I've ever seen, which I kind of agree with that. I mean, like again, Scoots had lost so much, like, he'd been chipped so hard on so many things that, like, depending on the Mew set, depending on the positioning, she could have very well just brought it back. She only revealed, I think, Iron Defense and Body Press, so she could have had 2 other moves, like Recover, Psychic, whatever.
Yeah, and that just goes to show, like, things may seem like, Claire's just handily losing. That was not handily losing. Like, there were a couple misplays here and there, but again, Yanmega's asleep. Scoots can't do anything but rely on waking up within like a few turns. Weavile dies when it comes back in on rocks. For Alligators at 52% health, it's going to lose some more health coming in on rocks. Ting Lu, I don't think survives coming in on rocks. It might. I don't remember right now.
It should, because ground resists rock.
Okay, yeah. Either way, crazy, really good match. And with that being said, that is the quarterfinals, and we're into the final 4, which we'll be getting into in the next video. But before we wrap that up, I just wanted to point out, so we do have Scoots fighting Aurora in the next match, and then we also have Vincent fighting Totally Not Pimp in the match after that.
And he, again, this is like, playoffs guy, right? This is just 4 heavy hitters, Not Pimp having come off of winning, I think, the prior offseason, just straight up like taking it full championship style. And that was the first thing he'd ever played in Double Dipwise. And obviously right before that, Bananas had won the first thing he'd ever played in Double Dipwise. So just a lot of like straight up like super talented players coming from that sort of sphere. And it is not surprising at all to see like 3 Double Dip mainstays plus like Not Pimp there at the top 2. And that's going to be an explosive top 4 when it happens in the future and not in the past, very distantly.
Absolutely the case. If I were a betting man, I think I have a couple of ideas of who could win, and I like gambling sometimes. I might have an idea.
It'd be awesome. What if you could know the outcome of a gamble before you did it?
That'd be crazy. Like, man, that's so. I mean, we should make our guesses on who wins the whole thing at the count of 3. We'll just say
this
it
is like
out loud.
Freaking Nancy Pelosi insider trading right now. Like, I already know what's gonna happen.
All right, you say your answer, and I'll say my answer. Ready? 3,
Okay.
2, 1.